several years ago, I was involved in a conference in London where there was a writer, Anatole Lieven, who used to write for the Financial Times. And he wrote, this was after the Stern report came out. At least 10 years ago. This was a British economist, and I think might have been the House of Lords, but who chaired a commission that produced a report that looked at what the cost would be of dealing with climate change. And there were two versions of his report. The early report was a little more pessimistic about how expensive it would be. And then years later, he did another one, which showed that actually there were huge economic advantages to tackling climate change. When that report came out, it really elevated the profile of the issue. And Anatole Lieven wrote that if the democracies of this world cannot deal with this issue, it will forever discredit democratic governance in the eyes of future generations. Future generations will spit on our graves. And that's what's so important, is it's not just that we're not dealing with it. It's that the message it sends is, well, why should I care about democracy? Why should I worry about being a citizen? Why should I vote? Because they can't do anything anyway. But that means we also have to challenge those forces that are undermining the constituency for good policy. We have to go after the people who are creating the pressures that make it hard for politicians to act. Steve Williams, I think his name, the head of one of the big oil companies in Canada a number of years ago, said, climate change is real and the climate science is real. And then he was criticizing climate deniers, and he said, and the politicians who pander to them. And I thought, what do you mean the politicians who pander to them? You're part of an industry that spent millions of dollars creating front organizations to persuade people that the science of climate change was uncertain. You didn't try to say that there wasn't anything in it, because you knew that you couldn't do that. That would be beyond credible. But just persuade people that it was sufficiently uncertain that to take the risks of expenditures that you might not need to make. That's the really hard thing for politicians, because spending public money, if you then say, well, we don't really need to do this, or we don't need to make this sacrifice, we don't have to stop doing this, all you have to do is create that doubt, and nobody's going to get in your way. So I think we're in a pickle. I do see signs of progress, and I do think that the very nature of what we're dealing with and the effect it's having on us through fires and floods and weather disrupted, and what it's going to mean for food crops and all of these things. We're seeing extinctions, we're seeing effects on agriculture, etc., that it's just going to get to the point where it's not credible not to deal with it.